Giuliana,
Come sta?
welcome. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you, we can hear you. This is my hubby. I think you
Hi,
met at the.
Nice to meet you.
meet you.
Life is awesome. You're lucky.
We are
We,
both
we are
lucky,
both
yes.
lucky.
Yes, I'm just kidding. That's how we always say, women, to protect us, our.
Thank you for joining us. We are so happy that you had time.
Oh, I'm so happy too. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my phone. Maybe I'll just put it over here.
Yeah. It's
Holding.
it most likely will close our eyes at some point. Um, so we have invited Claudio. Claudio is one of our favorite teachers that we met in Mexico, where we went to do the silent meditation retreat. And Namet met him first in 2019 when he went and he did his first silent meditation retreat. And he was very impressed with the presence of Claudio and his teachings. And then throughout the years, we've kept in touch. And Claudio is very, very busy. He's running 10 days silent meditation retreats, 17 days, 47 also.
Yeah,
Oh, someone joined.
Tal. Hi, Tal.
Hi, Tal. Welcome. Hi, Tal. Making sure that you can see us and you can hear us.
I think he's mute.
Yeah, we see you're on mute. Sometimes you're multitasking. But yeah, so we were saying Claudio is a great person and an amazing teacher, and he's very busy. But he used to live in New York, and he was a software engineer in New York. And then he decided to pursue full time the meditation path. And so he ended up meeting Namet in Mexico, and then we kept in touch through the years. And then when we came back from Mexico in February, we had like this calling to spread the teachings of the Hiradaya Yoga. We see someone else is also connecting.
Yeah, it's gonna, once they are connected, I think we'll see them.
Hi, my dears. This is Cloud.
Hi,
Hi,
Cloud.
welcome.
I see that I'm connected with the Haliama's account, Kakao Maite.
Yes.
Let me see. Maybe it's not needed to change this, but I guess we can keep it like this. Um, Give me a few minutes. I'm here with you. Just give me a few minutes to get ready. Okay?
Okay.
So
Sure.
let's wait for everyone, maybe 2, 3 minutes
Sure.
till
Sure.
everybody joins. Okay.
Yeah.
So good to see you.
Good to see
Good
you.
to see you.
So,
You, you can hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
very well.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself now and I'll join you in a couple of minutes.
Okay, thank you. And hi, Celine.
Hi, Celine.
Celine, hi.
Hi everyone. Nice to
Hello.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. So we have Juliana, so Namet and I. I'm Namet's wife, and I was explaining to Juliana that we met Claudio at the yoga meditation retreat in Mazunte in Mexico. And then Juliana is my wonderful colleague, and we do meditation at work. And
Nice.
she always motivates me to do meditation in the office. We have Tal. I see that she's on mute. I'm not sure that she joined yet.
Okay.
We have Basil. Basil is
Basil.
a very dear friend of ours. He lives in London, but he has been to Hridaya Yoga. He has done a few retreats with Sahaja and a few others. So, welcome, Basil.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Great to see you
Celine,
guys.
good to see
Good to
you.
see you.
Welcome from the UK. And Celine, where are you based?
So I'm based on Shelter Island, which is in New York State.
No, I've been there.
Okay, perfect. And I've
Is it
been,
where they made the movie with DiCaprio? Is
I
it
don't know.
Shelter
I
Island?
don't
Was
think so.
no?
Oh, Shutter Island.
Oh, my
That's different. Yeah.
my
I've been to Shelter Island.
You
yeah.
have?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, a
Um,
friend of mine has a place there. So
okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
my husband and I we are French. We've been living in New York City for 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years ago, we moved full time to Shelter Island.
Okay.
And my husband could not join today. He's working, but both of us have been taking 4 meditation retreats at Hridaya in Mazunte. And we did the last one in March,
Oh, great.
yes, just a month ago or so. Yeah.
Very
Wow.
good.
So it's really nice to meet all of you. All of you went to Mexico, or you also went to France to do the retreats?
We
I
just
did
went to
both.
Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a 3-day Zoom retreat through the Mexico Center during COVID. Then I went later in person to a 10-day retreat in Mexico. And then I did the similar 10-day retreat in Longeval in France,
Mm,
which was really, really nice. Yeah.
beautiful.
Next
And
time
what
we
about
bring
you, Juliana?
Juliana.
Yeah, yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I've never been to any retreat. Just I was invited by Laria to join today, and I will do it one day, but I still didn't.
Great. Wonderful. Um, Cloud is going to get here in like a couple minutes or a few minutes?
He's
Is that?
already here. He's just waiting for everyone to join in a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, and he's getting ready.
Great. I just have to use the bathroom real quick,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'll
Yeah,
please,
go ahead, go
please,
ahead.
please. Yeah, if you
great.
need to grab your coffee or, So, Celine, do you still feel the echoes of the retreat?
I do. But I know it's hard because I always have such deep and profound experiences when I do a retreat. Um, that if you're not in that container all the time, it's hard to have that same experience. So I'm struggling a bit with that. But I have a pretty strong meditation practice. I meditate every day. I teach yoga as well.
Oh, wonderful.
And I do energy work as well. So this is very much what I do. But yeah, the container of the retreat is so special that it's not the same, when you go back home. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk a lot about it at work because, we're working in corporate America. So there is a lot of materialism, there is a lot of fear, a lot of stress. And
Yeah.
it's so refreshing when a few coworkers sit together and we take 5-10 minutes from our day and just find a space to calm the mind in the midst of everything because it's so nourishing to do a retreat and to meditate on your own and take the time out of the samsara. But the truth of the matter is that you have to get out of the door and be in the world. So
Yeah.
I really like how Sahaja, we took the retreat with Sahaja in February. He gave us like this touch of I call it the collision with infinity, to use the words that he used.
Right. I remember you wrote that on the WhatsApp message. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was such a true living experience that it stayed with me when I came back to New York. And now even in the office there's like these moments of quiet in between meetings, and
Mm-hmm.
Take a sip of your coffee and you're there, here,
Mm-hmm.
now. And then I hear Sahaja say, me here now, what a miracle, what a mystery. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the echo.
Yeah, those are beautiful experiences for sure. They created a very profound container. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
How far is Shelter Island from New York City?
It's about 2.5 hours,
Okay.
2, 3, depending on the traffic. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's kind of part of Hampton. It's close to the Hamptons, right?
Very close to the Hamptons, yeah. The
Yeah.
Shelter Island people like to not be associated to the Hamptons, but it's very close to the Hamptons, yeah.
I remember when I went. We have a friend that has a house there.
Oh, Cloud is here.
Mhm.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cloud.
Everyone, namaste.
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 I was able to hear all of you sharing, and I remember some of your faces. Maybe Williams, I don't know, maybe you, I don't know if we ever met.
We didn't
We
we
have,
didn't meet. My teachers were Allison Bond, I think, and also Sahajananda. Yeah, it's great to meet you.
Wonderful to meet all of you and that we're having this connection. It's happening in New York, but you know, it could also be something that can be a bit more global. This is just a test that we are doing right now. And Juliana, I don't know, you are a little bit far, so I can't see. I don't know if we met, but
No. I came. Ilaria invited me. I work with Ilaria
okay, wonderful,
in
good.
New York City.
And I think Tal, I remember, yes, wonderful. Yes, definitely. Let's start with a consecration and we can delve into it. Maybe a few other people might come, or if they are not able to come here, we can address some of the questions they posed. So let's start in that way. For those of you who don't know, who haven't had the pleasure, consecration is a way of setting a pure intention where, in a way, we open to the grace of the divine. The idea is that we are playing the humble card. We say, I don't know what is beyond what I know, but I'm inviting this divine grace to come in, or this spirit, or this alive presence to come. And maybe the availability is like a secret silent prayer that says, let the words, let the grace come, so maybe I can hear and be touched in a way that can support what I need in my life right now. And that's a very beautiful way to think of consecration, one perspective. So let's do it together. We can close the eyes and connect with the middle of the chest, a little to the right, which is a special place that Ramana pointed out. And we take a few breaths here. And these breaths are meant to not only to calm us, but also to anchor us in the sensations in this present moment. And from this place of resting in our hearts, we embrace this present moment and ourselves, our lives, us as the Spirit. And we offer the fruits of this meeting to the spiritual heart, the divine reality, the very essence of our being, the essence of all existence. And for a few moments, we remain silent, emptying ourselves, an attitude of humble surrender, becoming empty, free from expectations. A few more moments. And we conclude the consecration with a prayer. May my merits, may my insights, my depth, may my suffering and transcending suffering be for the benefit of all beings, in all places, at all times. May it be for love, beauty, peace, harmony, awakening. And keeping the sense of openness, we open the eyes. I love this gesture so much. It's the light in me salutes the light in you. The light in me recognizes the light within you. So I saw there were a few questions, and I'm not sure if everyone who asked the questions were able to come. I think Josephine, she was interested in something, but she is not able to come. Josephine?
No, not today, but if we would like, we can discuss these things and we can share in the chat the video recording and then she can take a look at some point in the future.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So do any of you had one of those topics that you want to share or express? And then we can open it up.
Yeah, I like the topics that she had, and I have a few questions of my own also, and I'm sure others have a few questions, and we could discuss those also, I think.
Okay, so let's hear what is on your mind, or how do you ask these questions from your own perspective in an alive way. And then once you ask the question, some of you can also add, if you resonate with it, a few details to it.
Mhm.
So we can try to address
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah. So one of the questions that has been in my mind, so I did a retreat with Sahajananda earlier this year, and he talked about this idea of false values that in our subconscious mind we accumulate a sense of false values around certain things. So for me, for example, one of the false values is my fear of losing my job or a paycheck and things along those lines. And a lot of the egoic actions are driven from that perspective. So I kind of know that that's there, but I was just wondering how to detach oneself from such false values of losing your job or a paycheck and live with more freedom in some sense. That's one of my questions.
Thank you. It's a wonderful question. And how is it touching the rest of you, this question? Do you feel the same? Do you want to add anything to the question, specificity, or maybe like a counterpoint to it?
Very touched. I live with Namit, and we discuss this topic often because on one side we have a calling to be more immersed with the spiritual community, and then our New Yorker ego comes up and is like, "But you like fine dining, and you like to go on cruises, you like to travel, you like all these things, and you want them. And so it's okay to have a paycheck." And then you say, yes, it's okay. But then we're attached to it and we have built our lives so that sometimes we feel this fear that, oh, the economy is going down and the AI is taking over. And there's all this unnecessary fear that we work through it together. So we're fortunate to have each other, but we perceive that there is a lot of unnecessary fear uh, in attaching yourself to these false values. And logically, you know they're false, but within yourself, you're still grasping for some financial stability of this sort.
Yeah, and I just think that it can be for many things. For example, in my case, I have kids, and so you're always anxious about what they're gonna do, if something's gonna happen to them. My son just started driving; he's 17, and the anxiety just take over. You know.
Yes, wonderful. And anyone else? Celine, Williams, or Tal? Was there anything alive, or is this sufficient?
Yeah, well, what you said actually, Namit and Ilaria, remind me of a question I asked to Sahaja about the fact that we are both spiritual beings and human beings. And my question was, how do you reconcile those? You know, how, because sometimes I'm afraid that if I go too much into the spiritual path, I'm going to lose my humanness or the pleasures of the human life. And I remember, and he said that don't see them as two different paths. You know, you don't. They're not opposite. They're not. It's not one or the other. They can coexist together. So that was helpful to me when he answered that question.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's dive
Can
into it.
I also say a thing?
Yes, of course. The space was open, of course. Yes, Tan.
So it was interesting to meet when you said about, I can't remember the exact way that you said it. You said around false values. False values. You framed it under this question around the frame of false values. And when you said that, and you said that there is false values and there's this fear and this need for economical financial stability. And then when you said it, I felt both like a sadness and a frustration. And the sadness and the frustration are connected to where I am currently in the journey, also feeling somewhat financial uncertainty. And with it, when I look at like the arc of my current spiritual journey, it's like I have this desire and longing for to be fully integrated and to see like the entire journey as fully integrated, and then needs of the egoic self or needs of this body or needs for financial stability, which are quite basic needs. My longing is to see them as sacred, and to see them as like ideally not things that don't sway me and that don't overwhelm me and that don't move me and that I can hold as self and as love, and also to see them as important as things to be given love to and addressed, and like the needs of this like soft sweet human body. And this is kind of like the journey that I'm on, in my place. And I would love, yeah, I would love to hear how you see this on the and where it flows. Thank you for bringing this up. This is a very potent one. It's like let's dive right deep into money and spirituality. Yeah.
So I have a question. It's only loosely connected though. So I think I'll just save it until after you address this. Unless, is it better for me to just put everything out there up front
Actually,
initially?
no, it is better that we just stay on the topic and then we bring the other
Okay.
topic.
Okay, great.
Yes. Well, when we speak about false values, um, first of all, there are two places we can look at it. We can look at the idea of false value from the perspective of the absolute reality, and this is a very, very ascetic view. But we can also look at the idea of values, and then we take away the word false, and then we can put there prioritizing values. And this would be more maybe a tantric vision. So we have this category of this profoundly ascetic spiritual view. And then we have this tantric view where we can speak about priority of values. And we also have this third category related to values that are only from the mind, values that are being given by the mind, the importance that the mind gives to something that doesn't have so much importance. And this is what I truly, truly call the false value, because they are depending on some mental virtual reality that we are creating about particular things. So I would like to discuss about all of these things so we can understand a little bit, because for example, Juliana, she said, I have children, so does that mean that me taking care of the children is a false value? And obviously it cannot be so. One way to understand this, just to give you an overview, comes to Celine's kind of maybe idea that or perspective that the human life and the spiritual life can coexist. So here, not only they coexist, but they are the same. They are not separate from each other. It's only the mind that makes a separation. Because the present moment is only the present moment, is only one. There isn't a present moment in which I live a human life or a present moment in which I live a spiritual life. Is the same one. There isn't a present moment in which I'm spiritual because I don't get a paycheck, or I'm not spiritual because I'm enjoying fine food. You see? So try to see the truth, this Sat, as always being here. Only what is real exists. Only the reality exists. And when we say this, that means that every unfolding of your human life that exists right now is sacred, and is that reality, is that ultimate existence happening right now. The only difference is that we are not living in recognition of that sacredness, you see. So it's not that you're having fine dining, because our human existence has developed to this nobility of aesthetics, and we have a visual aesthetics, aesthetics of how we build our houses or how we live. We have many aesthetics, and food is also a beauty and an aesthetic to it, and we can honor that art, not because we are hedonists or we are in gluttony or something like this, but because there's an aesthetic sense to that food. On the other hand, a false value related to that, you'd be bringing an image about eating the fancy food of saying, because I'm eating at Nobu, or because I'm eating at I don't know what restaurant that is expensive or tastes very good and is very popular with many people, and I'm going to write about this in my Facebook, and this increases my status, and it shifts my image, or and somehow reiterates this self of identity that I have only with my ego, you see. So I start to depend on that image that I have in front of myself, in front of my partners, in front of the world, and I reiterate that image by eating in a fine dining restaurant. Or we can eat very wonderful food and enjoy it and be grateful that we are blessed with a karma to make a paycheck that can afford that. We are blessed with a karma to have a child and to enjoy the beauty of that child. What a wonderful adventure. Some people go and climb the Himalaya mountains, pick Everest, and they're willing to die for it. And others are having an even more wonderful experience of giving birth and taking care of a human being, watching life growing and sprouting and becoming. What a wonderful adventure, and what a wonderful peak that is. It's not a physical peak, but it is a peak of our human existence to do such a thing. So you see, the perspective matters very much, and I think that this is the difference. This is the difference when we speak about false values. So let's now look at these three categories: the very ascetic view, the tantric view, and we're going to go back to these mental values of the mind. From the perspective of a very ascetic view, and even here we are having two subcategories, and in actually both the tantric and ascetic perspective, we are having the subcategory of I am on my way to awaken. I am on my spiritual path, and I have been living a life, we can say, where I'm dreaming, I'm somewhat blind, or I'm entrained. It's a very good word to use. I'm entrained in my current patterns and repetition of cyclical patterns without the recognition and the intuition of the depth of my being. So both on the ascetic path and on the tantric path, when we are there, we are going to take different measures to wake up. We are taking different, we can say, paths or practices that we need to take, which may not be practices of integration, not yet. They will end up being integration, but we need to wake up. So they are practices of waking up to understand that depth deeper. So there's a sense of asceticism can appear, yes? And then the second category is living life, living in this sat, in this isness, in this present moment as it is, you see? So in the ascetic view, when we are entering on the path, already there, we are saying that the highest value that we can ever touch, and that should be the highest value in our life, is the spirit, is that divine reality. Because when I die, then this body will be gone. These images I've been building of myself is gone. All my worries will be gone. All the fights I've ever had with my friends, partners, mother, father, things that I'm stubborn about will be gone. No one will know those things anymore, and no one will care about them. So asceticism has this very clear cutting that says, actually, you will die. And what will remain from there? What is the thing that will remain? What is this human life about? What is it that you are trying to, what is the highest priority? And they also provide the answer, which is the same for all. The highest priority is to awaken or to serve the universe, to serve the consciousness, to awaken to consciousness, is to awaken to the recognition that consciousness is, that awareness is. The isness of awareness is the sat, and the awareness of the isness is the chit. So that's the sat chit, the sat chitananda. So if you really contemplate about it, and you take a moment to be completely honest with yourself, all the way to the depth of your heart, you at some point will recognize and realize that most likely we are living in a little bit of a delusion, a little bit of an illusion, you see. We are living with the illusion that we are almost immortal, that we have the idea that we will die, but we think it's going to happen somewhere in the future. We cannot even conceive the fact that today might be our last day, you see. So because of this, we need to reiterate this continuity of our being. And if you contemplate about it, you start to ask yourself, well, what is my life about? What is what I'm supposed to be doing here? And this is what brings the highest, we can say, priority. And this is what brings that value that we can call the true value, maybe, of human existence. Does this make sense so far?
Yes.
Yes. So we have arrived in our journey right now, as I'm answering this question, to understanding that from the ascetic perspective and the tantric perspective, the spiritual question is considered on the spiritual path, another path, on the money-making path. This is not the highest priority, but on the spiritual path, then the highest priority is the spirit. And everything else must be subsidized, must be under it, must be less important than it. So the spiritual, we can call it an absolute priority, and everything else, it becomes a relative priority, you see. So from an ascetic perspective, once we understand this, then everything else becomes what we can call it false, or unreal, because they are unreal, because they are relative, because they are not the absolute. So the only real thing is that which remains, which cannot be destroyed. And everything that we do, eating food, having children, taking this body as being me, the one who I am, ends up becoming, from the ascetic perspective, false. You see? So on the path, the first path, you need to become extremely ascetic. The first, I said there were two kind of sub-points or two stages to this. On the first stage, you become extremely ascetic and you start to really cut down your priorities. You go to war with your ego, with your patterns, with yourself, and you fiercely clarify that there isn't anything else more important than this supreme reality. And you enter in a deep, deep desire and a longing to know what it feels like. That longing is so fierce that you're willing to die for it, which actually is what is needed, because you will be dying as an ego identification to it. So that willingness of the ego ends up being there. This very, very strong desire appears there. And then on the second stage of it is, once we have started to touch this profound reality, you can either touch it by fully awakening, or you can touch it by having a peak experience and coming back into your human experience, but knowing deeply within your heart that the peak experience was the reality the sages are speaking about. And then you remain in a kind of twilight intuition of that experience in your life. Even that can dissolve, but if you keep going to retreats and having a yoga practice and meditation, that is maintained. Or maybe you don't have a peak experience, but you can have a plateau or a momentary plateau, what we can call a deep intuition of the divine. Is like there is a light that turns on in your heart, and even though you didn't have anything spectacular that said, oh my God, is like, this is so clear, but you know you've awakened to a deep longing and a deep movement of the soul, and it shines in your actions, in your longing. Something starts to radiate from there, and that gives you life force to be able to deepen into, to continue on the spiritual path, you see? So we are on the ascetic path. We are taking a very strong view and a very strong premise that pursuing consciousness and awareness is the most important thing. And then we get touched either by a state of awakening or a peak experience or a few peak experiences, or living in that intuition of the divine reality. And there, of course, if you're not yet awakened, then life continues and you keep trying to surrender more, to understand yourself more, to release more, you see? But even once we touch these things with that very clear decisiveness of that priority of the spiritual existence, there we start to live in our human life. And our human life starts to be touched by this, you see? So even on the ascetic path, you will know in the depth of your being that I am, that I'm living a dream, like you will think of it that way. I'm living in a dream of identification, or in an illusion in a relative world that will dissolve. But I also know in the same time this light of the spirit, this depth of the spiritual heart shining within my being. So that would be the integration in a way, you see. And the idea is that the feeling would be that I am living in a kind of dream like this. So from the ascetic path, this life that you are living, the food that you are eating, the dining, the children, the human body, and everything else is a little bit like a dream, you see.
Temporary.
Temporary. It's temporary, yes. It's temporary because you see the life goes through this transmigration of the soul. So when you close your eyes for the last time and the body dies, then something else will happen. Then you wake up again into a different dream, into a different reality. So then the question of the ascetic is, what is that thing which remains when all of these things are happening? What is the thing that always remains? And then the integration feels a little bit like this. On the tantric path, and this is a very dear perspective that I have been trying to bring more and more to the spiritual understanding. And I'm sure it's expressed by certain teachers, but I feel it could be expressed a bit more because it can also bring a confusion there. On the tantric path, we have the same clarity of wanting to prioritize the spiritual path above everything else. So we need to set that priority, otherwise we will get lost in our patterns. So we need something, we need a king in our mind or a queen, a sword that is able to discern in a very discerning way, start to put everything in perspective, you see. So that is necessary. And that path is a little bit ascetic. Even on the tantric path, we separate ourselves. So if I'm eating fine food, then I ask myself, why am I eating fine food? How does it feel? Can I be free from it? Can I be in a place where when everybody on the WhatsApp group says, a new restaurant open, or our favorite restaurant added something new to the menu, let's all go out there and have some fun. Can I find a space within myself to be free from it? Can I be free? Can I be ascetic? Can I be dry? Can I cut that? Do I have that power within myself? So on the tantric path, it's even more difficult because you can go eat the fine dining, you can have the children, the life and everything else, but you need to, without having some idea that tell you, well, this is fake, you're not interested in it, you have to impose upon yourself, ask yourself, can I be free from it? Can I let it go? You see?
Detach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Detached, but it's not, a detachment doesn't mean the loss of interest.
No.
And that's the thing, you see, is not, when we are looking at false value from the tantric perspective, because the experience of manifestation, it's only relative in its unfolding. It's relative because it's like a river. It's relative because the river is flowing. That's why, that's the relativity of it, you see. The relativity of it is that the river is flowing. So it's never the same. But there's a stability in it as well. There is a river. You see, there is a manifested reality. So they don't consider it an illusion. So the fine dining is not a false value, but because we are approaching it from that personal and that relative movement, from that temporary joy, we are somehow exchanging the eternal joy, the eternal bliss, that complete freedom, that joy that can come from recognizing the freedom of this pure existence. And we are sacrificing that in the name of the tiny little bit of freedom and joy that we gain from eating the delicious food. You see?
Yeah.
With the child, it's a little bit more different because that's a meal, that's a process that goes on for many, many, many years. You see? But even there, we can sacrifice. And this is the thing that we do. Now we need to make money. Let me sacrifice being present. Let me sacrifice the spiritual practice for making money. But you don't need to. All you need to do is remain present while making money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remain
Exactly.
present while you're eating food. So
Yes.
the false value is not the food itself. The false value is the priority that you're putting on the importance of eating food versus the importance of being present and aware and to remember that I am, that I exist of this present moment now. You see?
I
So
think the connection between them is that we have to enjoy without wanting to have a control. Enjoy the moment, the present, and the dining is like enjoy, but not feel like, oh, what if I lose my job and I cannot enjoy this in the future? Because you don't have control. So just detach in that sense. And the same with the kids or anything in life, right?
yes, definitely not having control, it's an act. It shouldn't just be, I don't have a control, which is from the perspective of the ego. You be a kind of, you succumb to the misery of life. Oh, life is like this, I don't have control. It must be a spiritual recognition that I don't have control. It must be, so from the spiritual perspective, it must be an act of gratitude, which is an act of surrender and recognition that actually I don't have control and I'm grateful for everything I have. I have relative control, but I don't have ultimately control because I cannot have control. I'm just this ego. I'm this identification. You see, so it's I don't have control, but from a higher level of recognition and understanding. Because otherwise, I don't have control. It makes you less confident, and it makes you feel like there isn't anything you can do. But it's important to feel like there are things that you can do, because even at the level of the ego, entering on the spiritual path, it's an act of taking control momentarily, you taking control for a while. It feels like this of your patterns, but actually it's an act of awakening to a deeper harmony. So yeah, as soon as we offer the fruits and recognize the values of a deeper harmony, then we don't think about control or not control, but rather following this surrender, that deeper harmony. So now on the tantric path, an important thing to understand is that one way that we can enter in this integration and coherence between the spiritual vision and the spiritual movement and the things that we are doing is to recognize everything is sacred, including your impulses as a human being. So this addresses specifically also what Celine was expressing. The fact that you have a desire is also divine. The fact that you have a desire is also sacred, is the divine speaking through you. Except that from the mental perspective, we tend to react and to be and make that desire the most important thing. So the mind just picks one thing and then gives it the most priority. But the heart actually has the capacity to look panoramically at the situation. So when we enter into this contextual understanding, into this spiritual understanding, then you can understand you have the desire for fine dining that exists there. You can say, this is divine.
Yeah.
This is also sacred.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I honor this longing for this food, for this joy. And then you also see the desire to not lose yourself in that. And they are both there. And you also see the desire maybe to save some money. You also see the fear that exists there. And that fear is also divine and sacred. And then they start to highlight the ego. The ego is also sacred and divine, you see? And then you say, from all of these things happening in the present moment that I'm looking at with the heart, what is the highest priority? So there we can eliminate. So there isn't about a false value, but it's about what is the deepest, highest priority. From the ascetic perspective, we can say it's a false value even to think about fine dining, because you'll be dying soon and you will add to nothing. From the tantric perspective, you can say, if I can go to that fine dining and enjoy and savor the food and be present with it and be present, what a wonderful, blessed present moment I have. Then in that moment, we can start to awakening and it becomes our spiritual practice, you see.
It's so interesting you're saying that, because at some point yesterday I looked at Namet and I'm like, I'm right back in Mazunte now, and what I'm feeling eating this deliciously presented, incredible food is exactly the same samadhi with divine that I felt eating those deliciously prepared vegan dishes at the Mazunte center. I was right there. The vessel that took me there was different. I was in New York through the fine dining, but I had this moment where there it is. I feel exactly as I felt in Mazunte when they served breakfast, and you just felt the love poured in the food. And we had some very good people that were taking care of us, and they just took the time to prepare the coffee, to look at us, speak with us. And it was like this beautiful, integrated experience where I just merged with it. And I was, I'm back right there. Like that essence is right there. So yeah, it was a tantric experience. Now that you're describing it, I'm feeling, oh yeah, that's more how it developed. And then, of course, the ego, the questions, and can I free myself from this? And all of that came later. But the moment of pure beauty and being like, wow, I'm so grateful. This is a divine experience was there.
Yes. And the danger that comes with that, we have to also be aware of the trap, is that we say, I'm having a tantric experience, a divine experience, and we just enter and we get lost without any checking in. So we label it, we put a label on it, this is spiritual, and then we get lost in it, you see. So that's the tantric trap that we have to be aware of. So unless you are awakened to a question or to be present, or to the intention to be present, and this is very important, because it's not that we can always be present, especially in the beginning, but the intention to want to be present has to be unchallenged, you see. So at no point will you ever say, no, I don't have time to be present because I need to address my current situation at work, which gives me a paycheck. No, I cannot be present because now I'm eating and I want to enjoy my food. I don't want to do spiritual work. I'm enjoying the food too much. So this is the trap of it, and that's the practice, to constantly try to remember this intention. And then we will forget. Don't feel guilty or ashamed that you forgot, because we don't approach it by forcing ourselves or domesticating ourselves through shame and guilt and things like this. You just say, it's like, no, I have the determination to keep having the intention to keep trying, to keep awakening again and again, as much as possible to presence. And this generates a momentum that eventually something starts to shift. You start to be more present and more capacity to be present and be quick and to be in a rush, or to not in a rush, but to be quick about it, or to take decisions and things faster without feeling like you are getting lost, and these things. So yeah, this is an important aspect. And the last point that I wanted to make, as I said, is the ascetic view that can bring a falseness related to this, the ultimate reality and the illusion, the Maya. There is the tantric view that says that every authentic expression of my being is actually a sacred reality, and I need to remember that I'm coexisting. The two are coexisting, but they are not only they are coexisting. You see this division. Not only they are coexisting. There is only one. There is no separation. So then I'm choosing to be present to this non-separation. I want to wake up a little bit to realizing that I'm not separated. So that becomes a spiritual practice. So it doesn't matter what you do. You renounce that veil of the ego that says this is me and mine, and I'm making all the effort, and you are opening to a presence that witnesses all these things that are happening and is aware of its own awareness. It's aware of its own presence as consciousness. And that would be a wonderful, wonderful way to go deeper. And then the third is the false values. And here, these are truly, truly false values which belong to the virtual reality of the mind, which means that out of something in your life, you can make more than it is. You give it an importance more than it is. So is making money important in our current society right now to survive? Is important, you see. Is having a good salary important? It depends on your authentic reality, you see. And some people need less, some people need more. So it depends. For each one of you, authentically depends and is different, you see. Having most money, is that important? No, that's a false value, you see. Having enough money because I'm afraid that something may happen? Yes, having some saved money is important, relatively so. But then becoming greedy about that and paranoid about what may happen, then that ends up becoming a false value. So you see, whenever we bring fear or strong desire to anything that we do in our life, that becomes a false value. If I cannot be there at that opening of that ice cream store to have that great experience as it happened and to taste that amazing ice cream that I heard about, then if there my life is terrible or I get upset, that's a false value. You see, eating that ice cream to bring me joy because I need to, that's a false value. You see, so these are the false values, the importance that we give from the mind in an exacerbated way, from fear, from desire, to things that are not true. Like thinking that someone has the power over you in the way they think about you, or they judge you, or they're envious or jealous. That's a false value. You are depending on what other people think, and in order for you to be happy or to be joyful. So, but the people can be jealous. Even you can be jealous or envious. And then it is real. When you are jealous, that's real. It's not a false value. It's the reality of the present moment happening. But you take that jealousy that is happening and you enter into the mental mind with the stories and implications and agitation, then there that becomes the false reality, the virtual reality of the mind. And this is where I will create an incredible sense of separation. It is typical on the spiritual path in the beginning that we go crazy and we want to quit our jobs and we feel like we are lost into the things that we are doing. But which is true, that in that moment of excitement, we might want to cool off from the many, many things that we are doing and become more absorbed so we can taste that depth of our being. So for all paths, this is the case. But you don't need to quit your job. You just need to put everything on pause. Do the minimum necessary. Don't spend time in nature rather than in a bar or a restaurant. Give up the fine dining. But you're not giving it up in a as a principle, no more fine dining, or as a rule, as a commandment. But temporarily, I'm so alive in my need to be present that I don't want to hang out with friends. I don't want to be in places that are noisy. I don't want to be in situations that are disturbing, you see, disturbing my current process of being present and awakening deeper and being silent and quiet. So so you're not doing it because it's wrong. You are not doing it because something is deeper within you that calls you and it doesn't support, it's not harmonious. But as this thing starts to awaken deeper and deeper, then fine dining can also happen because you can be present with the noise, with the friends, with the food. And so this is a little bit the process. So I've said many things and I could say more, maybe a few words about having children. You are already in that process. So it came to you, maybe the spiritual curiosity came later, or the longing or that intuition of the heart came. So you're already in a process. You have a child. You didn't choose or not choose. Let's say like this. For most people, it could be like this, you see? So here is not that it's fine dining and you can choose to not go to fine dining. Here you have to find the strength and the love to honor that child as sacred as divine, and yourself as well as sacred as divine, and to see that interaction as a spiritual process, as something that constantly is aiming to awaken you, to humble you. How much more can I surrender? How much deeper can I love? And if I have a fear, I honor that fear. Of course, you're afraid. Your child now starts driving, he's 17, and what trouble he's going to get into. In the same time, you are honoring his freedom and that trust, and in the same time, you want to control. So he's the light of your soul, so you're not going to give up on that, you see. But in the same time, you also realize that I have to surrender also something, I have to trust him, and I have to trust that divine reality. And here is where the spiritual contemplation comes, how much control do you really have? How much is your fault? How much do we trust the karma? How much can we do regarding another human being? And the most that we can do is we can be our best around them. We can be loving. We can entrust them to take care of themselves, to be wise, and that love can be very, very powerful in that moment. So of course, there's more things we can say about this, but I'm going to give the microphone back to you to see if you have any questions, details, refinements of what I've said, conclusions, or maybe we can go to another question, or if you want, we can take a break. We've been together almost for 1 hour. So how do you feel about this? Does it make sense? And do you feel it a little bit more alive in your hearts?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yes. Yes.
And you mentioned two things that are two topics I also wanted to bring up, but not after we address the topic that Basil wanted to address. You mentioned karma and death, and those are two very important topics that I'd like you to elaborate on at some point. It doesn't have to be today. I know it's a very deep conversation, but yeah, I'd like to deep dive into karma and death at some point. They're very important topics to me.
Yes, very big topics. So it needs to be a bit more specific. Let's give space for anyone else want to comment or refine or clarify something I have said. And then if from there we can go to Basil. Say that
Yeah,
name,
just
Basil, or
sorry, go ahead, Tao.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. It feels it just feels really beautiful to kind of like be in the space and like the content is obviously beautiful, but it just felt like very reassuring and like drinking like very nourishing water. And I have to log off because there's another call I need to be part of, but I wanted to say deep gratitude for this space, and I hope that we get the chance to yeah, to do it again. And thank you for taking the time, both you and everyone actually.
thank
Have a
you.
beautiful weekend.
You
Thank
too.
you, Tom. Thank you.
Enjoy the weekend. And I don't know if we'll meet before the 30-day retreat. Maybe we can try if I have time, but my 30-day retreat starts in May 30th.
Okay.
So if there's a chance, maybe we can see if we can meet one more time before then. Okay?
Mm.
We'll see.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Tom.
Cloud, I thank you so much for what you shared. I was just wondering, like, where does this sense of fear come from where you feel like, oh my God, I work in an industry where AI is going to take over my job and I won't have a job anymore? And what do I do with my life? What is the purpose of my life? Should I basically go on the spiritual path after that point forever? Or like all these fear of future, basically. I just get confused with that fact.
But they are natural, right?
Yes.
So part of our human experience is also to have these worries and to have these fears.
Mhm.
Accept them as part of your human experience. So they are not wrong. The fear doesn't need to disconnect you. Actually, the fear can point and highlight the presence and the awareness, the
Mhm.
witness which they are happening. So if you are witnessing your human existence, you can say, look, now whenever I hear the AI thing, this fear arises within my being. The difficulty is that if you are giving it more and more importance,
Mhm.
or like momentarily you may forget that you are the spirit. Momentarily you may forget that you, even beyond this physical body, there will be something which is this essence of awareness that is listening to these words right now, is that reality of who you really are.
Mhm.
So if we were to dive more and more with this clarity and recognition in our meditations, or the intuition of this deeper domain of our being, then even when these fears will arise, they will simply be seen as a human experience, and then they will be allowed to be, but we wouldn't be adding to them anything else. See, the mind is entering into the story and the projections. What will I do? You see,
Mhm.
Whereas the present moment, if that were ever to happen, the creativity will come along,
Mm.
and you cannot predict what you will do now,
Mhm.
then, you see. So if you have a back pain, definitely if the eye takes over your job, you're not going to be digging holes because you cannot with your back, you see. And right now you don't have a back pain, but maybe then you have. So then you need to find another job or another way of living in a creative way that will arise out of those conditions in that present moment, you know. Of course, if you want to generate some karma towards that, without fear, but not driven by fear, but as a smart way to recognize that maybe there's a shift happening in the world and whatnot, you may want to choose to train yourself of how to program AIs or have a different. People can do this kind of like a, but still I wouldn't do it out of fear. You see. But the fear is natural. So from strictly a spiritual perspective, the fear is natural. The amplification of the fear is the mind. So we can witness to not go into that. We can accept the fear, don't condone, don't allow the amplification of it in that mental projecting kind of way, you see? And then recognizing that indeed, if anything were to happen, the solution will come from that present moment, will arise from that present moment perspective. Many, many things can appear, I cannot predict. So, and another point here, don't run away from the fear. You can even allow yourself to feel it, you know. If I am currently have no job and no prospects for a job, what will I do? You see? Let's accept this for a moment. What do I do? And then what are the things that I'm losing? I'm losing my life? No. Am I losing my status? Maybe. I'm losing my access to fine dining? Maybe. I'm losing maybe my partner, if my partner cares about money and status and whatnot? Maybe, you know. But maybe the things that you lose are not important, or they are based on false values, you see? So I still, like, am I gonna die? Most likely no. Can I find shelter somewhere? Maybe. Am I gonna lose my independence? Maybe I may lose my independence, but so I need to get over that, you see. Maybe I need to live in with my parents again. Maybe we need to move again into a communal living. Then I'm dropping my idea of being independent, of having my own home. So all these other things that you had the karma and you have the karma to experience right now, they might need to be dropped, you see. So you're afraid of losing all of these things, but you never lose the essence, the presence, your capacity to work. You never lose your capacity to love, you know. What should you do if you lose your job? Then, I don't know, you can be the one who goes around and says, I don't have a job, so until I get a job, I'm gonna hug you and say, I love you. Because we don't have enough of that in this world. So that's my job that I do free of service until I get a job where I make some money, you know. It's like that. So the creative moment and the longing of the heart, when you're faced with it, that's what you will do, you know. People often wonder, what shall I do if this happened? And then we make all kinds of stories in our head, and when that thing happens, you do something completely different. Because the aliveness of that thing happening opened and touched a karma and a depth of our being that was not available when it wasn't happening. So we are just in mental projection, you see.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
So don't push the fear away, but don't let it grow. Be with it, and you see that you can transmute it into peace
Mm-hmm.
by allowing it to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there are many parts of you in the same time, and the fear pulls you to just be into fear.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that you're also creative, and you're also the spirit, and you are the awareness, the presence, and you also have some family or friends support that exists. So don't be only the fear.
Yes. I know Basil had a question also.
I do. Can I go ahead with that?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I want to begin, Claude, by thanking you very much for being here and for your practice. Even as you were talking, I promise I wasn't sleeping. My eyes were closed because I was absorbing, and I just felt a a palpable divinity and hope that I think I hadn't felt since the last retreat that I went on. So I'm very grateful that you're taking the time. What I wanted to ask was related to um, Namit's question, and I think also some things Celine said. One difficulty that I have had um, is that I grew up in a particular religious context that was somewhat fundamentalist and dogmatic. But one thing that I did really like about that context is there was a form of spirituality in which you would talk to God a lot, and then you'd listen to what God was going to say. You may have ideas or things that come in impressions, and then you try to go out and do the will of God and act it out. And so when I left that organization, I felt very disoriented because I felt like I didn't know what the will of God was. And these mental habits that I had of like ways of checking if I was doing the will of God, whether it was conforming to that doctrine or following the Holy Spirit in ways that I understood it, I didn't have that framework anymore. And then without being able to know if I was in harmony with the will of God or doing that, then I didn't feel the kind of peace or existential repose that I was hoping for. Now, at Hridaya, I've often been able to feel very close to the divine, can see sometimes in personal terms with God, sometimes impersonal with Brahman or the self. Um, and that has been really valuable. But I've often, even still, kind of struggled to know what is it that I should be doing? What would the will of God be for me to do? And Sahajananda said something that was really helpful to me, which was the will of God is your purest intention. He said that to a group of us one time that was really helpful. Namit has mentioned something recently, and this brings me to my question, which was I think when Namit was on retreat, Sahajananda, or maybe it was you, had said something about sometimes when we, or often, maybe mainly when we have these ideas or sentences or phrases coming into our mind and even our heart telling us to do something, we might read it as the will of God when really it's just our mind talking to itself. So I guess my main question is, do you ever think about doing the will of God? Or do you think of a spiritual life, you'd conceive of it in a different way? It's more who you're becoming or something like that. That's sort of one part of it. And then the second is, if these like impressions or ideas or words that are coming into my mind is just my mind talking with itself, what is a better way to really be in harmony with the divine? Does that make sense what my question is?
Yes, it seems the first question is you're asking me about whether I'm following the will of God or living, or how do I deal with this?
Yeah. Like do you try to seek specific guidance and oh, I need to go help this person because God told me to do this thing or that sort of thing, or do you think of it differently?
So you're trying to lean a little bit in how I approach this, and then I can share. And also the second question is the conversation that I'm having in my mind, is this just a mental conversation?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, both questions can be answered simultaneously. They are not really different from each other. I always follow the will of God. I have no, well, first of all, there's the perspective of there's no one here following anything. So this is an important perspective, which maybe is different to translate or to somehow to share. So imagine for a moment there is no one here, that you are not here as a you following the will of God or not following the will of God. Then things are simply somehow happening spontaneous, and you are recognizing everything that is happening as the isness of who you are. And this isness of who you are is a divine will. And there isn't a will, but it's just this unfolding that is it, is the itness, is the self. But this maybe is something which difficult to somehow share, or you can try, all of you can try to see what that might feel like. You'd be almost like a practice of Shivopaya, a path of Shiva, where you are recognizing it instantaneously without any particular practice that you need to do, that this is so, you see, and then you can enter into that intuition of it. And that would be the highest approach, or the best way, because also it is a constant honoring of the self as I, as the self, as the totality. Even this has different gradients, but this is the path, because there is the vision of it, the direction of entering into this, and then it goes all the way up to being the very present moment as it's happening. Or you can have an intuition of it, which can bring a release from a me. So you see there's quite a gradient of it, but this would be wonderful because it supports the non-dual practice. On the other hand, we can translate this into a me, and that's how I started to share with you, which is I always follow the will of God. I always follow the will of God because I have no choice, because everything that is happening is the will of God. You see, it's a dual perspective. The previous one was non-dual, or the practice of non-duality. Now it's a dual perspective. I always follow the will of God because I have no choice. It is what is happening, is what God will. Otherwise, you wouldn't be. Is God, is the will of God. And what I need to do is honor the present moment as the will of God, as it is, as sacred, and to awaken to that vision. And this can help, and it's a stepping stone towards that practicing the non-dual approach, the non-dual vision, the silent self-inquiry. So I have to follow the will of God because everything is sacred. Who am I? You see, who am I? And then, I am not separated, or I am the present moment. So this would be a little bit how it expresses through the physical body and the energetic body and the emotional body and the mental body. It's a different story. It might not be about the will of God, but even here we can take a little like a subset of this totality of the will of God of the present moment, and we can bring it in this human form, and let's say maybe most practitioners could start from here. Maybe everything else is a tall order for someone to go like that. But in a very personal, embodied way as a human being, one way that one can approach, and it would be to start to become aware of the sensations and the connection with the space of the heart as an organ of knowledge. So the kind of the fragrance of the heart starts to be felt, starts to be seen. And then the mind starts to become a direct expression of the heart. In general, the mind expresses strategies of how it wants to fulfill the longing of the heart. So the longing of the heart is always driving us. But the mind expresses how it thinks we should do that. So you can say, I want to go camping. And the mind says, I want to go camping. Then we do this, we're going to go there, we're going to have a place that is peaceful, and it's like that, and not too much hike, so you can carry 5-day worth of food with you, so you can be alone, like this. So these are all strategies, the mind. But if you look deeper, the heart says, I long for space and quietness. I long for something that is spacious, you see. And the mind took that and made it a camping trip, which is a strategy with its own. Then he took that as a primary strategy, and then multiplicity of strategies, where and how. So once you start to become in touch with the heart, then you become free from the strategies, but the mind is still there translating the feelings of the heart. And what you feel in your heart is the creative potential of the supreme reality of the self in you as the self, as an expression of the self. You, as an expression of the supreme reality, is the self, including your emotions, your fears, your desires, your secret longings of the soul. The soul is the self. So you are the edge, the forefront of the unfolding, of the flowering of consciousness. You are the creative force. Through you, God is creating. So you can honor this creative force as one of the multiple potentials of the infinity of the divine reality. Sometimes we get confused that when we express this potential, this longing, sometimes it doesn't get fulfilled, you see? So you say, oh, I failed, or God doesn't want me to have this. And that's a more naive, not naive, more like a beginner's perspective or intermediate perspective on it. It's not the fact that whether you got fulfilled or not, and it happened or not, that is important. Is the fact that we expressed it. It's the fact that it was alive for us and we put it out there. It's like we added an alchemical ingredient to this reality. Whether that seed blossomed into something that we wanted, that the mind wanted to create that strategy, is again a divine expression, is the divine will. But the divine will is also you wanting that. And the divine will is also you wanting that and expressing it and putting it out there. And the divine will is also you wanting that, expressing out, wanting it out there, and that meeting the karma of the present moment and say, possible, not possible. You see? But even that movement that you have, it's a karmic movement in the human consciousness. So little bit you are seeding the totality of the expression of the divine reality as humanity. You're sitting with that desire, with that longing, with that vision. And then you seed it a little bit, a million people also seed it, and then the karma for that to happen in the world for some people or for all, or for some or for all, it starts to happening more and more. So your little one ant moving of that grain, whether it happened for you or not, had potentially, possibly, it seems like it has its impact and its need, its reality that was needed. To the ego, it feels like I failed, but to the divine reality, it feels we just need everyone to work together with the little desires and wishes or whatever to push this a little bit more and change that karma. So this is one way you can look at it. From how I approach it is in this way, like a sense of spaciousness. You eliminate the false values of fears and desires, of wanting to get something out of it. But these things, maybe they happen spontaneously. So it is not, again, it's not a very structured approach. It's kind of like a spontaneous recognition of what must happen. If I need to make a choice, then I rest in presence related with that choice. So imagine resting in presence as much as possible as a practitioner, or resting in presence all the time, or never being separated from presence. And then, well, let's say you as a practitioner, you can rest in presence as much as possible, or try to remember it. And now you need to make a choice or something. You want to see what the will of God is. Then you rest in presence with that particular topic, that particular thing, and you just don't do anything. And if the mind wants to come and have the conversation, it can, but you don't enter in the conversation. You remain witnessing. You don't enter into the thinking. Maybe the thinking just needs to come and happen and dissolve again. Just something needed to be. So you keep coming back to this sense of resting in presence and listening and watching and resting with presence with that particular topic. And then something will start to release. Sometimes it doesn't for some time, but you keep going back to it, and at some point, something unfolds very naturally, spontaneously there. When we use the mind, we can make the most logical decision, and then it's the spirit, this supreme reality, making a decision through the mind according to its own expression in this human being at this level of consciousness. So the supreme reality, the self, expresses in that human being at the level of consciousness, which the mind is being used to make the decisions. And that's not separated at all from the spirit, from sacredness. It's also an expression of the spirit, like that. Yes. You are currently muted, just in case you wanted to know.
Can I, thank you. Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Oh, this was,
Sure. I have a question.
what's that?
It's open for everyone. Yes, but
Oh,
yes.
okay, good. This was wonderful and very helpful. It clarified many things for me that I've struggled with a lot over the years. I just want to recap some of the things you said in the beginning, where you said there's a non-dual perspective, where there's no one here to do the will of God. It's just unfolding in its isness. And I think you said, I don't remember what else you said about that, but I think you said that would be sort of the highest, like the kind of the best approach. But as a stepping stone to that, you could adopt a dual perspective, which is where what is happening is the will of God. I read it that way, and then I can say, okay, I am doing the will of God because what is unfolding is the will of God. And then you'd ask, well, who am I? And then that gets you more to non-duality. So I gathered that those were the two main perspectives. And then when you described how it works for you in a practical matter, you're always resting in presence. And if there's a particular topic you're trying to make a decision on, then you rest in presence with that sort of topic kind of in mind. But you're always coming back to witness and
Yes.
letting it unfold.
Yes. Um, I, yes. I was trying also to support um, not. I wasn't trying to describe how I'm doing it, um, because I was also trying to support how it might look for, how it could be for someone who is doing it as well. Yes. So, as I said, it often happens spontaneously, and even if thoughts appear or measuring appear, is rather, I would call it more spontaneous.
Mm.
So, uh, so it's like a spontaneous thing, and even the thoughts themselves are allowed to be, but the decision is not made through thoughts. But sometimes the mind is needed um, to compare things. So the mind is needed to compare things. So the thing that you are sitting with, yeah, so it's kind of like let's say, imagine that you want to build a sand castle. It's all a sand castle. It's just temporary. But imagine you build a sand castle, and then you're building it, and you're like, what should I do next? Or what's the will of God with this sandcastle? And maybe you want to make another turret, another like tower or a moat or something. And what the function of the mind would be to maybe look around the sandcastle, see what it looks like, maybe what the structure is, maybe to recognize that adding another tower might collapse the sandcastle. So the mind is an organ that can assess, and then with that, then you sit with, So it's like, I'm feeling like I want to put a new tower to this sandcastle. Okay, so then with the mind, you say it's like, this could work or not. Maybe it can collapse, or so it's like there's a possibility of collapse, and then you sit with it, and then so the mind has this role. You see, I wouldn't enter in this cursive conversation with the mind, but sometimes people can translate the heart into the mind, and sometimes that is needed, or sometimes maybe there's a situation that is overwhelming because it has many, many moving pieces, or there's a karmic veil where the moving pieces cannot be so well perceived together, then the mind can help. You can write it down, you can make a mind map, you can speak it out. So the mind can be useful in certain situations, but the personal expression is in general spontaneous. It doesn't, most things it doesn't require. It's just the spontaneous expression. You know, like, should I go to India or should I go to Australia? You know, it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you go to India or to Australia, you see. But if you start to put an importance on it, but if you're present, it doesn't matter, because you're like, you know, but then you can rest with it. And you don't know what comes up. But the mind can say, it's like, well, going to India will be familiar, going to Australia, it's a new experience. And then you start to feel more where the questions comes in the heart. But if you're directly aware of the heart, still, it doesn't matter. So there's some refinement there to express. I don't know how to put it in a practice for all of you. Try to feel more and be silent and quiet. And don't pick the first thing that comes in the mind. Don't enter in mental discourses. But you can scan internally into the different choices and into the field of what you are working with to see what feels more alive. You know, maybe that could be a practice that can be done. You can be like, what feels more alive? What feels like more, has more echo? And if everything feels alive, or you're completely detached from all, and sometimes with small decisions, this could often be the case, it doesn't matter. Flip a coin and do that. And it's all the will of God. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Claude.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you for the question.
I think I need to take off right now. But it was wonderful to share this time with all of you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Beto. So good to
Bye.
see
Great to see you too.
And unfortunately, I have to go too, but I wish I could stay the whole day.
you.
I
Thank
Should
have
we
you.
guests.
close? Should we close with a moment of silence, or do you want Celine and Nami? Then do you want to stay to maybe ask something else to continue a little?
Well, myself, I had a question, but it's also a big topic, so I don't know if we have enough time to go over that. It's around the Kundalini energy.
Let's
So
invite to Juliana and Basil, and then we can ask the question, and I can give a short answer. We can contemplate.
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Juliana. Thank you,
Thank you,
Basil.
Juliana. Thank you, Beto.
Enjoy. Okay.
So every time, so I've done 4 retreats at Hridaya, 2 in Spanish and 2 in English. And every time I did a retreat, the first one was I started to feel a lot of the Kundalini energy. And that was such a surprise for me, because that's something I've never felt before. And that really took me by surprise. It was really, really strong. At first, it was sexual energy, but not so much like in a bad way. You know, it was actually very beautiful and very sacred, and the understanding that that energy is so precious and powerful, that everything, you know, can be created with that much energy. you know, and then I had some other physical symptoms, but I guess my question is, I always feel it during the retreats, but not so much outside of the retreats. And is it something that one should be working with? Is it something on a spiritual path? Do you want to have a full rising of that energy, or is it not necessary? I'm a bit lost in that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question. Yes. In general, in retreats, the Kundalini could awaken when we become more quiet in the mind. And there's a natural purification that happens in the retreat that allows this energy to flow. But it's not only an allowing it to flow because of purities or impurities. It is also related to the fact that there's a longing of Shakti, of Kundalini Shakti, for Shiva, the longing of the union between the two, which appears somehow spontaneously. So when you start to enter deeper and deeper towards this depth of your being, the formless depth of your being, this unmanifested reality, then the Kundalini Shakti and the energies end up spontaneously align or center in half the direction in that movement, that you can call it Kundalini rising, you see. So it happens spontaneously. Energy in the breath balances the nadis, being centered, like for a long time in meditation, starts to quiet the body and the different koshas, the different bodies. And then this phenomena for some people spontaneously arises. We do work here in starting from module 5 with Kundalini. And one recommendation that I give is to practice self-inquiry, even when this energy is rising. Who am I? And to purify the body and the mind through this question, who am I? To prepare yourself, to be able to be present to whatever arises. If the Kundalini awakens, for example, and it hits, it activates your, let's say, Manipura chakra, then it activates the consciousness of Manipura chakra. And from there, you have particular psychosomatic or mental emotional patterns that are very, very strong. They get amplified by this increase of energy. And this amplification, if those patterns are not supportive to spirituality or disruptive, or there are things that are not harmonious, produce disharmony, then they can affect you. So you can get affected in a very strong way by this. That's why it's important to learn to be able to witness the energies, to be able to witness the different states of mind. If you get greedy for power, or violent, or angry, or frustrated, or passionately jealous, or then you witness. If you get stubborn in a willful, determined way, then you witness all of these things without being attached to them, and then when that witnessing appears, when that question, who am I, makes you free from being lost into them, then we can say we become more and more available to increase more and more of the Kundalini energy. If you're not yet ready, then you can be in that second stage where you keep falling into these patterns, but you keep coming back to self-inquiry. And that, for most people, is the practice. Or it could be you completely are lost into those energies and you don't have a lot of control. And maybe Kundalini might not be so helpful. So in the moments of respite, in the moments of pauses that you have when the Kundalini is not active, enter deeply into witnessing your own patterns and becoming free from them. Justifications that you give yourself, times when you get extra upset, or you are overemphasizing something which has been done, or something that has been omitted, not done. You see where your upsetness comes from, your difficulties, your worries, your fears, and using self-inquiry, try to resolve them, try to allow them to resolve themselves through the recognition of the deeper reality of your being, deeper, universal, or unconditional love, and deeper. Yes. So this could be a way to approach this. Did
Okay.
I answer the question?
Yes, you did. It's such a strong energy that it's really the first year I was very shaken by it. Not because I felt that it was bad, but I didn't know what to do with it because it was too much, too powerful. But yes, but I guess the other you did answer my question. But the other question I had is it something? So someone who's on a spiritual path, is it like a required step to go through in order to awaken, or no, not necessarily?
Is not a required step to do practices related to it, but it's definitely you will go through it.
Okay.
But for some people, they go through it and they don't realize it because the knee can express in the pranic level energetically, but it can also express in other ways as well. Maybe we can say emotionally or astrally, and then as consciousness. So your enthusiasm, your longing, your way of wanting to dedicate yourself, your devotion, all of these things could be an expression of Kundalini being lit up, but you wouldn't see it or feel it that way or think of it that way.
Yeah.
So everyone passes through it somehow, or not passes, but these things do awaken, and this intensity, it could be there for some people, but it might not be energetic. Yeah, so the fact that it's there is good. It's a positive thing. And now that the energies are there, imagine your prayers being fueled by that energy. Wow. Imagine your devotion being fueled by that energy. Wow. Imagine your self-inquiry having that strength. Wow. So that's how you want to direct it into these directions. Because imagine your fear being fueled by that. Like, no, not very, very difficult if you don't already have an established sense of presence and center that can handle such a big fear. If you can't, then first of all, make sure you don't fool yourself. But second of all, if it's truly possible, then it can be very powerful as well. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your answer. And thank you so much, Namit and Ilaria, for organizing this meeting. I feel a lot of gratitude. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, Claudio. Really, really grateful. And I just have one last practical question. We would love to send you a donation for your time. And if you can let us know how we can do that.
No, my dears, I'm not taking this is not a donation thing. We are meeting in spiritual gathering, and doesn't require a donation. You can use the money maybe to do something for the group in New York. For example, I was thinking maybe to come visit you to teach a workshop for a weekend
Yes.
over the summer. I'm in Florida, and there I'm supporting my mother who is elderly, and during the summertime she's alone. My stepfather is traveling to Romania, to Europe, so so I spend this time with her. But um, I, I can sneak away for a flight, maybe on a Friday, and come back on a Monday morning or something like this.
Please let us know the dates, and you are very welcome to stay here. We have a bedroom that you can stay. It's
Thank you.
all for you. And then we can just bring our friends here. It's a pretty big living room. I think we can have 10 people, but if it's more, we can find another space.
Yes, I also have a space, so there is no, I can have a place to stay, to sleep. So thank you for the
Oh,
offer.
okay.
Maybe for somebody else who wants to travel,
Mhm.
if you want, we
I
can do it.
might
Yes,
take your
Celine.
offer, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then we can, yeah, 10 people, and it can be a wonderful. And then maybe for a workshop like this, there we can, there, because the workshop and it's different from this, it's a delivery of something there, we can come up with whatever price fits everyone or something like that. And if anybody wants to support this or to save money to support that for anything related to such a project, or the or I would still say, like, why not, like, receive the money, put it in some account or something, and then use it for you, go out to have pizza or together, or maybe supporting a moment like this could be wonderful. And yes, and such a program could happen where we can meet on a Friday night, or to have introduction of the topic and some things. Then we can have maybe we can choose how many hours we want to do. Maybe we can choose we can meet in the mornings and leave the evenings free for you. We can have a whole day thing. I don't know how people's busyness is, but it could be Friday night, Saturday. I guess if people are traveling to your place, it'd be nice to not leave so late. So, and then Sunday, we can also leave. We can do half a day. So it could be like Friday night, Saturday.
You are muted somehow.
I'm muted.
Oh, no,
No,
we
no,
we
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Hear you
Maybe
anymore.
you lost connectivity, Celine. Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
Can you hear me as well?
Yes. Thank you.
So, or you can think of a good scheme. You can
Yeah.
think of a good scheme. I could arrive on a Friday afternoon and then travel directly to wherever we run the place, and then teach something, then we can go for dinner. And
Yes.
then after that, we can continue on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we can choose either the whole day or half a day. And then if you can arrange this, and some topics already exist, from pain to peace, can be taught, transmuting pain
I
and
think
suffering,
uh,
awareness.
Cloud, there was like a recommendation from a couple of members in our community about the tantric loving consciousness retreat that you do in Mazunte. If something related to that could be taught, that is one option also that people want.
That's a popular one as well. So we can do introduction to Tantra, tantric elements from a spiritual perspective, and also we can do relationships. So there can be a few workshops that we can do together over the course, coming in and out, you know. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we can start with the Tantra. The only thing is, with the Tantra, more people might want to come,
Mhm.
and they might travel from other places as well. And if that's the case, we might need to rent a hall or a different space.
Mhm.
Your living room or other people's living rooms might become
To
more like a sleeping
Yes.
dorm if people travel from other places, and then we go to another hall that we can rent a hall. Or we can try to see what it feels like with maximum 10 people, and we can leave it there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. And as far as the dates are concerned, do you have some estimate of what dates are working for you, or is it something for the future?
Maybe it could be something we can do in one of the weekends in July.
July.
Yeah,
Okay.
July, we're only traveling the first weekend for July the 4th, and then we don't have other
No,
plans. Yeah.
after, yeah, July mid or end of July, we are in the city.
We'll
So,
post the dates in the channel.
Yes, I think not July 4th because many people travel,
yeah.
and the
Right.
week that people catch up. So maybe like the third week of July.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not possible. Then there's the online retreat in August that I'm giving from Florida, the 10-day online retreat, the Hidayah retreat.
Mhm.
But then I have to be available from August 1st till the 10th. And then maybe beginning of September could also be a possibility, or in September.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Cool.
We can look at the calendar as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. We can talk about that. And thank you so much for the session. And I'm so grateful to see you again after such a long time.
Yes. Also, thank you, all of you. It's wonderful to see all of you. And next time, I'm sure we'll see more. And hello to everybody who will watch this recording, but you weren't able to be here. And we can also speak and pick more appropriate times because some people say they're more available in the evenings.
Yeah.
It can also work very well as well for me. So we can do this.
Okay.
And then evening also during an evening that can happen during weekdays because some
Yeah.
people are busy on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful,
Sounds good. And
Claudio.
I'll propose some dates before your June retreat starts in the chat and see if there is any interest for that. And then we can take it from there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Thank you very much,
wonderful
Claude.
day. Thank
Bless
you.
you. Good luck.
Bye.
Good luck.
These little practices that we already mentioned, I think,
Yes.
can already be very beautiful.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Mhm.